I'm watching a run from Super Series 3, Round 3 in 2022. I was roping with Clay trying, and we won the round. And the things that were going through my mind was we'd had 2 no times. I missed the first steer, and the second steer I actually got flagged out for crossfire, so that gave us another no time. Clay was doing a great job of heading that week and kind of carrying me along. He needed a backpack, I think, a little bit. I was getting kind of heavy, but we had a steer that was actually kind of strong for the set. And he did a great job getting it on him, and I got around there and got him healed pretty fast, and we were fortunate enough that we won the round and got to advance. It's always kind of tricky at Houston when you need to win first, because obviously the competition's as good as anywhere in the world that you go to, so you don't want to just make an okay run and hope that they can't beat it. So we were trying to be really aggressive on this steer. Clay got a great start, got it on him really fast. The steer kind of checked up just a little bit, and I was able to get around there and throw really fast, and we got a good finish. Now I'm going to watch a run from the finals of Houston in 2022. Me and Clay were the last team out to go, and kind of a funny thing, I get a little aggressive in short rounds, and me and Clay had roped together for about 3 years, so he knew that, and he actually stopped me before we walked in the box, and he said, "Hey man, give me a minute to pull this steer before you throw it." And so Clay just got him a nice comfortable start. He went all the way to him, kind of pulled his horse in there and took one extra swing. I was holding out just a little bit wider, so I had some momentum and my horse wouldn't get tight. And then really ultimately just trusted my shot and set a good loop down. And then I think one of the biggest things that I remember about winning it is it was such a weird place to celebrate, because feels like you're out in the middle of a pasture and you don't have anybody to celebrate with. And so I remember giving it a fist pump right here at the end, and then the crowd got super hyped, and it's probably the only time in my life I could actually raise the crowd and everybody responded, so it was a pretty neat feeling. I'll never forget it.
22, champion of the Caldwell Night Rodeo, 2.9. Hali says things are different in round 2 than they were round 1. I'm here to make it fit. Sticks him fast, 2.9.
What's crazy about that run is everybody was like, "Man, you pushed the barrier." And to me, it felt like I was late still. That was definitely probably the best feeling run I made, was in the second round of the Super Series. We knew with the barrier I'd still advance, and my calf was not supposed to be the most fun, so I kind of played it safe. But then in the final round, I was first gun route, and if anybody knows me, I hate being first out. Oh man. In the Super Series, I warmed him up every day before we'd rope in the arena, but I never warmed him up prior to getting here. And the day of the finals, I woke up at 8 a.m. and loped him down for 2 hours because he was so hyper. It was just still cold, and he's still really green. And I warmed him up, and it made it so much easier in the final day. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to do that more. So he's had a couple warm-ups, definitely. My calf in the final round wasn't supposed to be good. He was supposed to be slower and went to the left and checked up. And so you can tell I'm a little off the barrier in the final round. Before I went to Houston, I went and watched the final round from the previous year, and I saw that there was only 1 clean time. And all the other girls had broke the barrier, so I was like, if I just get a clean time, at least I'm second, the odds. I just played it safe, and if anybody knows me, I'm typically not the safe player. I'm kind of the one that takes too many risks, and normally it hurts me. Knowing how much I wanted to win Houston, I think we all have the eye on that buckle in the saddle, and behind in the strip and shoot, or the alleyway, it was me and Tiffany. We were back there standing on the ground, and of course I'd already unbooted my horse, and JJ's walking in the box. She's like, "You just won at least 25,000," and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not sinking into me. Tiffany just runs and bear hugs me and knocks me to the ground. She's like, "You just won this." I remember my run, but that moment will probably forever be branded in my mind. That was a really special moment.
People might not realize this, but Houston and barrel racing, this is our most difficult barrel pattern all year, because it's such a tiny pattern in such a huge arena. We run down the alleyway completely blind. We can't see the first barrel, and it's right around the corner. And so there are some of the greatest barrel horses in the world do terrible at Houston. when you're going down the alleyway here, I want to keep control of Rollo. You see me pulling on him pretty good because he has to be ready to turn right around that corner, and the first barrel sets the whole pattern off. And so you want to nail that first barrel really good, and then that sets up the rest of the pattern. And then the third barrel is out in the middle of no man's land, and you can't tell that from the TV as well as you can when we're there. And so that's another thing. You can't get too excited running to the third barrel or your horse might not see it. The main thing is just to have a smooth run, and I did mess up in Super Series the second run. And so I was a little stressed out in this run, Super Series 3, run 3, because if I didn't do good, I wouldn't make it back. And you have to understand the stress of, I've won this rodeo the year before. So I was like, oh gosh, if I won it the year before, like now I'm not even gonna make it to the semifinals. So I just wanted to have a really nice run, make sure that I got to the semifinals. Another thing about Houston, moving past the Super Series into the semifinals and the finals and the Final Four, that you have to keep in mind is you have to be perfect and you have to be fast to keep advancing. So I'm just making sure that he sees that first barrel when I come around that corner and make sure to have a nice first barrel. And then past this, I'm just thinking about getting up into my spots on my other turns and just having a nice smooth pattern and running as fast as I could home. And that ended up being one of the fastest times ran at the rodeo that year. And so I think as I ran out of the alleyway, that's the first time I've done a fist bump. I think I was first out in the Final Four. And so that's stressful because you have 3 other people very hungry behind you. And so when I looked up at the clock running out of the alleyway and I saw that I was running like 14 5s and 6s leading up to that, and then I ran a 14-3, I was just like, wow.
No brakes, no backup. Here, off to the right, back to the left. Now look at him reach. The deeper you reach, the faster the roll. I love to watch that little horse of Kirsten. Captain Hook, team hit and kick, hit and kick. Horse is electric, and the man put an electrified ride right back on him.
This was actually the first horse that I got on, Captain Hook. He was a rather large animal. I can remember, like before I got on, he was kind of trying to buck around in there and smash me a little bit. And he was just as tall as the buck and chutes were, and I can remember being, oh my, I'm ready to get that guy out of here. But once we got out into the arena, he was plenty good enough for me. I think I remember right, I was 86.5 or something like that on that horse. But he's kind of long in a way, and a lot of guys don't really get along with him, but that's the kind of horse that I like to get along with. It's like a fist fight. When he hits you in the back, you kind of got to hit him back harder, and when they back you in a corner in a fist fight, you just got to keep fighting out of it. And I feel like I ride better and sharper when I have to do that rather than just having a nice hopper. My little brother actually won the college finals on that horse that following June after I got on him. Boyd Paulhemus, he was announcing at both of them, and I was there to watch my brother when he won it, and Boyd was giving me crap about it over the mic.
And we're good at the whistle. All right, the Pope has spoken.
This next horse is Bay Nation. That was actually what I won the shootout on. I had never been on that horse until I'd gotten on him here. He was kind of big and a little bit droppy and moves back and forth and hard to track around, but I can remember in the middle of it sitting there thinking, like, what the heck are we doing? Because it was one way and then back to the other, but it worked out. It felt like I rode good, and I had to sit there and watch 2 other people go before I actually knew that I had won it, which was R.C. Landingham and Rocker Steiner. So it was kind of nerve-wracking. I knew that I rode really good, but I don't know, when there's $50,000 on the line, it's a little bit to get nervous about. That's the one cool thing about rodeos. I'm not competing against anybody. I'm competing against me and the animal. And if I do my job the best that I can and the horse does its job, at the end of the day, if somebody beats me, it's because they had a better horse drawn. Before I knew what Bay Nation was, I thought they definitely had better horses than I did, but it worked out, and I was glad that I had the one that I had.